Financial Meeting and 2014 Hopkinton Financial Town Assembly if necessary. I see Ms. Kenny in the audience. I guess for me, and I'll pass it along to everybody else, I guess I'm just wondering, and again, take it from our position up here. Last year you weren't present. This year, I get a call, the day before we're supposed to vote on it, that you were interested. I'm just wondering why you hadn't expressed any interest to the town about the moderator position. Can you explain that for me?
I did express my interest to Scott Bellhurst.
Okay, well, that's not a very reliable source. No intention with Scott, but you need to let Lisa know, someone else know, that so word gets to the clerk's office. I wasn't aware that you were interested. What about last year?
I assumed that you guys had someone who was elected in my place, but Scott informed me that no one was elected in my place.
Okay.
So,
Can I respond?
Yeah, 1 second, Scott. Yeah. Okay. All right, well, Scott, you have some questions, whatever?
I don't have any questions. I contacted Mrs. Kenny a few weeks ago, and you know what a stickler I am for law, and she was surprised that she was still a moderator, because the law is very specific. It says you serve until another is engaged in your room or you discharge therefrom. That's what the oath of office is. And I understand from Mrs. Kenny, out of fairness to her, and I'm a fair person, that number one, she didn't realize she was still a town moderator, and I guess she wasn't contacted last year about the meeting. So, and I think out of fairness to her or anybody that was moderator, since the moderator only really has one function a year, and that is to preside over the annual financial assembly, it's understandable that she wouldn't know that she was still the moderator, and also that she wasn't contacted about the meeting, because it's not an office that, like being on the town council or another office where you regularly are doing something. The only function of the moderator is to preside over the annual meeting and any special meetings, if we don't have special meetings, and also the Chariho meeting when it's our turn. So, out of fairness to Mrs. Kenny, and as a person who wanted to follow the law of Rhode Island, the Board of Canvassers did not certify a winner. Last year, our town manager, nobody was really in the audience. I think for a brief moment, somebody was at the meeting. So I don't have any criticism of Mrs. Kenny for not being in the annual meeting because she wasn't contacted. I assume she wasn't. He wasn't contacted about the annual financial assembly last year.
For the 2 previous years, I was notified in writing that when the financial town meeting was, and then I contacted Lisa and went over the agenda and the whole.
So I assume that the town clerk's office didn't assume that you were still a town moderator, and I assume you didn't assume that, so anyways, that's my position.
Anyway, okay, thanks, Scott. Sylvia, do you have any?
No, because I talked to Beverly, and every time I kept hearing she didn't show up, and then I was thinking, well, wait a minute, when was she elected? And so it seemed normal that when I get elected to the town council, I'm elected, but then your term runs out, you're gone. But she didn't know. She only knew she didn't run again, so therefore thought she was done. So I guess I understand that.
And it was not anything that I followed up on and contacted her either, because
She wasn't the moderator. You didn't think she was a
I
moderator.
did not think there was a moderator in
Right.
place. We had write-ins, the write-ins declined to serve. In my mind, it was a vacant position.
Okay. David, do you have any?
No. I'm not happy about the situation, but no, I don't have anything to say.
Barbara, do you have any questions? I mean, I'm just confused as to, even if you were notified a couple weeks ago, why didn't you notify the clerk's office? She's really the gal that you need to let know. I mean, I had spent some time. Oh yeah, no, I know. I'm sorry. I'm just kicking over myself for 1 second. I had to reach out to some folks that I thought might be interested. And I'm pretty busy, and to get a call at the last minute saying you're interested again, quite honestly, Bev, it was really. We wasted a lot of time trying to find somebody and interviewing folks, when all the while, if you were interested, you should have came forward earlier. That's my thoughts. But Barbara, go ahead.
I think my concern is that you didn't run for moderator in the last election because you weren't interested, which is understandable. People run their term and then that's over. So my concern is you really aren't interested in the position because you didn't run and allow the citizens of the town to vote for you. And then also, we had to replace because you were absent. Now, the moderator only has one thing to do, unless it's the Chariho, which means you should know what that date is. I mean, you were elected, you knew what the date was, and you also would have known, because you have been part of this town politically for decades, that if there's no moderator, that you would still, in that case, you would feel you would be moderator, and you should have contacted Lisa if you didn't hear. You've been in politics a long time, you know how it works. And my concern is you weren't interested in running, so you were absent from the position because you did not wish to be part of it, or you would have run and given them all a chance to vote. And then when we had the issue where we needed a moderator, you were not available, you didn't call in, Lisa didn't think to call out, but no one calls us when we have meetings, we are expected to know when they are. And that happens with any of the other commissions and the boards. They know when they are. They don't get personal phone calls to say, come and do your job. And those are commissions, let alone elected positions. And an elected position, you know what your job is. And we needed to, because you were absent from your elected position, we needed to appoint someone in your place. And I am still concerned that although we have the email from you saying that you're willing to continue as elected in place, you are not saying you will actually serve in this particular date and time for the position. So I feel like you have absented yourself. You know, some of it perfectly reasonably. You could have just been tired of doing it, or you chose not to run, so you aren't interested in the position. So I feel that this position is able to be appointed if indeed you were absent, and I think you were absent. And I do respect the position, but I also respect your choice not to run, which is understandable too. So that's how I feel about it.
Okay. Yes, Lisa?
This is a new wrinkle.
Yes, it is.
Also, this has not happened before. Was not aware of how that is. I can't blame anybody for that. This is a new wrinkle. And who would have thought that somebody would still be in that place, as they say, in the room. I didn't know it. I'm sure that they probably didn't realize it.
I didn't realize it, but previously we had asked Ed Mark to continue as moderator in the past because he did not run for the election. And I was on the council at that time, and we asked him several times. And when he was available, he served as moderator.
I've got a question. So based upon what Councilor Hurst has told us numerous times about the oath of office, if Beverly is still the moderator and she's willing to serve, then we have no vote because she is the moderator. And if she says she'll be there, then I guess there's nothing for us to do other than to resolve any questions we had? Is that what's going on? I just want to ask for clarification.
I talked to the solicitor on this, and what I wanted to do, and I gave Beverly a chance to come here tonight because I wasn't sure what was going to happen, whether she was going to show up or not. And now that she's here, I wanted to hear her as to why she wasn't here last year, and then all of a sudden expressed an interest up until this point, hasn't expressed an interest in being the moderator. You know, we spent time interviewing folks, and like I said, I think it's counterproductive to all of a sudden, if you knew about it 2 weeks ago, you should have let us know. Maybe it could have avoided us interviewing people. So when I talked to the solicitor, we can all have our opinions, but I think at the end of the day, if her explanation, at least for me, isn't satisfactory, or if it's not satisfactory to anyone else, we'll deem the position absent from her duties as moderator, and we can vote on someone. So that's what the solicitor has told me.
May I make a motion?
So,
are we able to dismiss Beverly and then put her
No.
name in the
No,
hat?
you don't need to.
No, you don't need to
No,
do that.
no.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion. I do respect.
Yeah, so hold on, Barbara, one second, I'm sorry.
And say yes or
Tom,
no?
you want to come up?
Oh, that's really easy.
I'm sitting back there in the back of the room. I came for the budget hearing tonight, and listening to the town council right now, I'm appalled. I am totally appalled at this town council right now. I wasn't at the last couple of meetings, I don't know what you went through and everything, but you have a volunteer that's here to take the job when asked. Whatever the reasons were, she did not show up for the last times or whatever is irrelevant. You have somebody that is volunteering to do the job, and you sit there and chastise this woman for volunteering. The whole time I was on the council, we couldn't get enough volunteers. We were begging people to fill boards and commissions. There are still boards and commissions with lacking people. So when you get a volunteer that's willing to step up to the plate and do it, I think this council needs to accept their gratuity to serve the town. Whatever the reason was, I served as town council for 6 years, vice president and president. I did not know that if another person is elected, the previous one continues on. So if I didn't know that in the capacity that I've served for this town, I don't know if Bev actually understands that also. But to listen to you guys right now chastise her when she's willing to step up to the plate, I was called to ask for the moderator's position also. I could not serve, as I talked to Sylvia concerning it, because I worked third shift. And if that meeting went late, for whatever reason, I would have looked forward. If I was on first shift, I would have taken it. Because to be in control against Chariho, I'm back. That would have been good on my part. But I can't because of my job. So here you have somebody who's willing to step up to the plate, and we have always looked for volunteers. I think the bickering should stop. If you have somebody in mind, nominate them and take what you got. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll address Tom's comments, I don't know if anyone
And
else
also
was.
we had 3 people.
We had 3 people that stepped forward, Mr. Buck, to volunteer along with Beverly. So it's not like we're just, all of a sudden finding out that we're turning someone down that wants to volunteer their time. So you're wrong in that aspect. So I just think if, from my perspective, and it's not bickering, I'm not chastising, I wanted to find out from her where she was for the last year and a half. I mean, quite honestly, it would have been helpful to know. Basically, I just wanted to know from her what happened. I don't really care who serves as moderator. If we knew you were interested, I would have loved to have it be known prior to us interviewing and spending our time doing that. Have to come here early before the sessions and interview folks. So it's not chastising, Tom, so I disagree with you on that too. So, Barbara, do you have anything else? Anybody have anything else?
I'd like to-
I take exception to that comment, Tom, so I'll make that
And we
part
had
of the
3
record.
really wonderful people come
We
forward.
had 3 people come forward.
And they were all
Next time,
excellent,
show up and come
excellent
back.
people. And they chose to come forward. And we're
Excellent
saying, oh, well,
candidates.
don't bother coming forward.
Because we have someone in the wings.
Which we didn't know we had.
Anyway, Barbara, make your motion, please.
I respect Bev, and I respect the elected position of moderator. My concern is that in failing to run again, and in then failing to fulfill her duties at the last Financial Town Assembly, Bev has been absent from the position. Under the charter, we can appoint someone to fill the position when the moderator is absent. We need a moderator who will be present for both the Chariho Financial Assembly and for our own Financial Town Assembly. I therefore move that we appoint Amy Williams to fill the position as moderator at those assemblies.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Do we have any
Discussion,
discussion?
go ahead.
Discussion.
Sure.
Shall I go?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. The comments that were made up to the moment of the motion, I have to tell you, I don't see how, she wasn't absent on purpose. She was absent because she didn't know. Normally, when I found out that when she was elected, she was contacted by the clerk and it would tell her, this is the town financial meeting. She would go in, go over the agenda, she'd show up and fulfill her obligations. she didn't, quote, fulfill her obligations because she didn't run for office. She didn't know she was supposed to be the moderator, continuing, as Scott had pointed out, he thought she was, so that was all a surprise to everybody. Now, for we, it was a surprise to us. She didn't know either. Now I called her, was it Sunday? All right, I called her and I asked her, because Scott hasn't voted on this thing, and he says, you know, I think she's legally the person, so he doesn't want to vote on anybody. So I talked to her and I wanted to find out if she really doesn't want to do it, then it'd be helpful if she submitted a letter saying, I resign. And then he can vote, and then we can all move forward. And she told me, no, I'll do it. I said, okay. So she wrote her note. So, I mean, that's where it stands. So I don't see that she did anything on purpose. She didn't know, and I don't see how you can be upset with her if she didn't know.
No, I'm not upset.
But she did
Yeah.
know to run for office if she wanted to continue, and she chose not to, which is the right of someone to do, to say, I no longer am interested in the position, I will not run for it. Her 2 years were up, and it's a perfectly valid thing to choose to do. And in that case, it's not a surprise that she is absent and we have to fill it, but we do. If you were interested, you would have run. It's an elected position.
Yes, David. Hold on, Scott.
Bev, if you don't mind me asking, why didn't you run?
I was not asked to run again. And,
I mean, a lot of people aren't asked to run, they want to run on their own volition, for whatever office.
I am very involved in Little League.
Mm-hmm, I know you are, yeah. For years,
For years, well,
I-
I am district administrator for
Yeah.
District 3, which covers west of the Ward.
Mm-hmm,
Oh, that's a
So
big
I'm
distance.
Very busy.
yeah.
And at that point, I was not feeling well when time to put nomination papers in. So by the time I was feeling better, it was too late to put my nomination papers in.
Mm.
So at that point in time,
Several
several people asked if I would be a write-in, and I said, yes, you can put my name in.
Yeah. You have to understand, I think, our position as a town, when we don't see anybody putting, submitting their name for an elected position in the town, we assume they aren't interested. If they were interested, they contact somebody in the town, or they just simply take out nomination papers or whatever. They got do the proper procedure to get the name on the ballot. And if those people, whoever they are out there, don't do it, then we assume they aren't interested.
I realized that because of Scott, he brought the law to me, and I looked up the law afterwards, and researched it, and I thought about it, and I said, yes, I will continue Scott. So, up until I assumed he passed the message on, so.
Yeah.
I brought it up at the last meeting.
If you told people you were willing to be moderated if they'd be write-in, but Lisa said all of the write-ins refused to do it, so then no one wrote you in? It's a question, Lisa.
I don't know.
I don't believe there was any.
Okay, so then, people didn't write in your name, they wrote in others, and those are the people that still said no. So, to clarify.
Mr. President,
Yes, Scott.
just finally, Beverly Kenny is the legal moderator of Hopkinton, and I'll vote against any motion. The oath is very simple. You serve until others engage in your room or you're discharged therefrom. And the moderator only has one function normally a year, and that's preside at the meeting. You can hardly say somebody's absent for missing one thing. And not only that, the council is remiss. The Board of Canvassers failed to certify anybody for Town Moderator, Director of Public Welfare. Those two offices, the council should have moved before now and tried to have those offices filled if we as a body were concerned. That's two examples. So I'm going to vote against anybody. I have nothing against Mrs. Williams. I have no reason to. But the whole way this is going down is questionable, it's not Mrs. Kenny's fault. And, and I've stated earlier, I have no partisan reason, I'm a Republican, Mrs. Kenny, Rena's a Democrat. But the fact of the matter is, we're a nation of laws. I took an oath to defend the laws of the state. As I remember, I think that's part of the oath, and I'm going to do that tonight. Thank you.
Yes, so we got,
And as far as the Amy William is concerned, I appreciate that she applied, appreciate that she came and went through the interview, but I didn't see where there was any experience in ever running a meeting of any type, period. So of all the candidates, I thought she was the least likely and the least experienced, so I just thought I'd point that out.
I think she has a PhD in chemistry, and she ran meetings between sales forces.
Wait a minute, am I getting the girls mixed up?
You might be.
Which is the youngest?
Younger one,
Oh,
I
the
think, is
chemist
Catherine.
is Amy.
Yeah, Amy's the
Oh, I'm
chemist.
sorry, then I
Amy's
take
the
my
chemist.
comments back. It was the other gal that I meant. Oh, excuse
And
me.
what I wanted to say is, actually, our charter doesn't say what Scott said it does. That might be a state law for state legislators, but our charter says that we may appoint if someone is absent from the elected position. Our charter says, if someone is absent, we may appoint that person. That's our charter, Hopkinton Charter.
Read your oath of office.
anyway,
Read the charter.
any other comments, guys?
I just want to say one final thing, is that one of the things that was sold is to get people involved. If I understand our town charter correctly, an elected official cannot serve on a board or commission. So if you would appoint any of the three ladies that applied, they couldn't serve on any board or commission until November.
Correct.
Okay, so Beverly Kenny's my choice, and I've already stated it, and I'm not going to be redundant. I have no partisan advantage by supporting her. I think the law clearly states that she is the moderator of the town of Hopkinton, and that's my position. Thank you.
Thanks. We had 3 people come and volunteer, or suggest to volunteer for the moderator position. We interviewed all 3. Bev didn't run, so I'm taking the position where the position was vacant, and Bev was absent in her duties. Not that you meant it willfully at all. I can understand that you're not knowing. I think there was a learning curve with this whole thing with everyone. So, but I'm still considering that to be the case. So, anyway, motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Are you going to ask for anyone who opposes?
Oppose them.
Opposed?
Okay.
Opposed.
Okay. So 3 yes, 2 opposed.
I apologize to you.
Thanks, Bev. Next on our agenda, we're going to adjourn the adjourn the moderator position. Next on our agenda is budget discussions regarding...
I'll tell you what, move that we adjourn the special town council meeting.
Second.
Motion made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Sylvia.